Okay, let's talk get methods versus post methods. And let's do something a lot of explanations are not doing. Let's provide some context for you. So both of these methods are HTML methods that are used, not, I wouldn't say primarily, but I'd say definitely most of the time used in forms. So when you're filling out a form, it's usually going to require a front end interface, right? Like your phone, your computer, right? Very easy to understand. There has to be something facing the user. We call that the front end. And then there has to be a back end where the data is processed. Now, the tricky part about the back end that's hard to explain to newbies is that a back end can be located anywhere, you know. On the same device, you could be running a back end server that will process the information and serve, return results on the same device. Of course, you could have the server running on another computer, within your house or within your domain, within your enterprise, or you could have that server offsite in another location. The backend server could be located halfway around the world. The backend server can be located in the cloud. So AWS, Google Cloud, my favorite is DigitalOcean. You can run that server in the cloud. So these two methods are, the two methods available in HTML that you have for sending that data back to the back end. Now that we have some context, let's talk about each one, and then let's do, a little comparison, a little compare and contrast. So let's talk about the get method. So now the get method primarily used in search engines, very commonplace if you want to see an example of get method being used to send the data back. So if you do a search query, right, down here at the bottom is an example of how this URL would be dynamically generated based on the data being searched for. And you can already start to see what we call key pair information. You can already start to see first name is like a variable in programming, Stan representing the string data, last name is a variable, Shelton representing the string data. And a concatenation is running in the background that dynamically generates this URL. Okay. Let's go. Sorry about that. So there we have the get method. It has a really, really strong use case, really, really strict use case. Next, let's talk about the post method. All right. We have name value pairs are not sent in the URL. Right. And this has some obvious advantages. But the data is being sent in a message to the backend server. And we have on the screen an example of a post request. You can see the top of the message. We have some metadata type information being sent along with the actual data. In this instance, it's being either added to a database or changed within the database, or overwritten. And this is sent as a message instead of, sent in the URL. So this is a whole lot more capability, obviously, in order to send, in terms of, instead of sending yes or no, right? Instead of sending a few search words, you can send, whole documents worth of information to the backend server for processing. So let's do a little compare and contrast, right? The get method, right? We are storing and sending data inside the URL. Data can easily be seen. It's readily available for anybody who's just simply paying attention. Allows for saving the page and bookmarking the page, as the page has a dynamic URL which can easily be bookmarked and commonly used by search engines. Okay. The post method, on the other hand, right, stored inside of a message, and that message will be sent. Now how that message is sent, that's a whole nother topic, right? That opens up a whole nother can of worms. Now, post is obviously safer, but it isn't safe, you know. So we have post cannot easily be or readily be seen, and does you when you receive when you're sending, when you're requesting that new page, you're requesting a URL that is probably not going to change at all. So it does you no good to try and save it or bookmark it, right? There's nothing unique about that URL for bookmarking. And but post is the default method to use. So in other words, unless you have a really good reason for displaying that data in the URL, you should be using post. I can't put a percentage on that. I haven't used these two methods to the point where I can put percentages on it. If I were to guess, I would say probably post being used 90 to 95% of the time, would get having some really, really slim use cases. All right. Now, they both have in common, they're both HTML methods. They're both one of two available methods, right? So that's a small pool, right, of tools. And, both send data to the backend server for processing. And you're getting, posting, requesting, right, a page that will dynamically show up as the results. For the get, for the post, you are getting and requesting a page of results, but will not have a dynamic or unique URL. So I hope that helps on these two valuable methods.